All right, so today we're going to talk about different sentence structures. If you can use a wide range, a lot of different sentence structures in your speech or in your English, you can really show off your English ability. So there are 4 different sentence structures: simple, compound, complex, and then complex and compound. Okay, so let's take a look at this mini lesson about different sentence structures. Okay, so this is the lesson on different sentence structures. As you can see, there are 4 different types of sentence structures. And again, those are simple, compound, complex, and complex compound. A simple sentence has only one independent clause. An example is I ran home. So an independent clause is a full thought. It contains a subject and a predicate. So if you look at the example here, I is the subject and ran home is the predicate, which is the verb and the object. Okay, now we have a compound sentence. A compound sentence has at least 2 independent clauses. So it also contains a coordinating conjunction or a semicolon. So an example, I ran home and I ate dinner. So those are 2 independent clauses. Those are 2 complete thoughts. I ran home is one, and I ate dinner is the other. Okay, so now we can combine these 2 to make a complete sentence by saying, I ran home and ate dinner. So notice how the word I is missing from the second clause. Okay, so this is acceptable because it is implied. We know we are talking about I. The subject is implied. Okay, now we have a complex sentence. So a complex sentence has a dependent clause and an independent clause. So you can see the dependent clause is in orange and the independent clauses are in blue. So the dependent clause contains a subject and a verb, but it is not a complete thought. So it needs some more words or more language to complete the thought. So if we look at our example, I ran, this is an independent clause. It is a complete thought. I ran. Okay, we could add something to it, but simply I ran is an independent clause. Then we have, but because I was in a hurry to eat. This is not an independent clause. It is a dependent clause. Because I was in a hurry to eat. Well, we need to know who, why, what did you do to finish the thought. Therefore, putting them together, I ran because I was in a hurry to eat is a complex sentence. Finally, we have complex compound sentences. So these sentences are a combination of complex and compound. So for example, I ran because I was hungry and dinner was waiting at home. So it actually has 2 independent clauses and 1 dependent clause. So again, the independent clauses are in the blue and the green, like the teal color, and the dependent clause is in the orange. So I ran because I was hungry. This is an independent clause, I ran, that is joined by a conjunction by a dependent clause because I was hungry. Therefore, it is a complex sentence. So this first part of the sentence is complex. I ran because I was hungry. Now we add another conjunction to make it a compound sentence that includes an independent clause. Dinner was waiting at home. So now it's a complex and a compound sentence. Let's look at some other examples. So simple sentences, these are fairly easy, right? We have our subject and our predicate. I ate lunch. It's a complete thought. I love chocolate. I enjoy reading books. So now we have I usually run on Tuesdays. So now we add an adverb, usually, just between I and run. So we could say I run on Tuesdays. This is a simple sentence. So is I usually run on Tuesdays. Finally, on Wednesday, so this is a time. We add this to the beginning of the sentence. On Wednesday, I went to the library. Okay, so now let's look at some compound sentences. So if you remember, compound sentences have 2 independent clauses, so 2 complete thoughts, at least 2. Some can have more. So here we are. I want to study for my test, but I am too sick to get out of bed today. So those are 2 independent clauses. You could say I want to study for my test. Okay, that's a simple sentence. And you could also say I am too sick to get out of bed today. That is also a simple sentence. So combining those with the conjunction but, we have a compound sentence. So again, I was walking to the park. However, I was stopped on the way by my neighbor. So again, a compound sentence. So finally, we have I want to go to the United States, an independent clause, joined by the conjunction because, and then another independent clause, I really want to eat an American hamburger. Okay, so now we have some complex sentences. So remember, the complex sentence needs a dependent clause, which is in orange, and an independent clause, which is in blue. So the dependent clause needs more words to complete the thought. So for example, I was glad I went to the baseball game. This is a complete thought, so it is an independent clause. Well, even though my team lost, this would be a dependent clause. In the next example, we have even though I fell asleep in class. So again, the dependent clause, I did not get in trouble. So the independent clause. Okay, so now we have complex and compound sentences. These are a little bit more complicated. So again, remember, for a complex compound, we combine a complex sentence, which is a independent clause and a dependent clause, with a compound, which is two independent clauses. So we need at least two independent clauses and one dependent clause. So in our example, we have the orange are the dependent clauses, and then the blue and green colors are our independent clauses. So when I graduate from college, I will find a job and make a lot of money. When I graduate from college is our dependent clause. I will find a job, our first independent clause, and make a lot of money. So again, the subject is I, and I will make a lot of money. Okay, so we have our next example. As I anticipated, our dependent clause. It rained today, our independent complete thought. And then, but thankfully, this is our conjunction. And then I remembered my umbrella. So here is our second independent clause. Okay, so now we have our third example, which looks a little bit more complicated because we have 4 different colors. Okay, so the first color, again, the orange, is our dependent clause, while the next 3 colors are independent clauses. So first, although I exercise frequently, I am unable to lose weight because I eat a lot of sweets and eat at a lot of fast food restaurants. So our first independent clause, I am unable to lose weight. Okay, then we have our conjunction because, and our next 2 independent clause, I eat a lot of sweets and I eat at a lot of fast food restaurants. So those are some examples of some different sentence structures. Be sure to go back and check. Use the colors to understand how the dependent and independent clauses work within a sentence. Okay, so sentence structure is very important when speaking English. You need to be sure you have a complete thought as well. So you have a subject and you have your predicate in a sentence. So you need to make sure you complete your thought. Okay, also sentences can have the dependent clause or an independent clause, and sometimes both. Okay, so a dependent clause is not a complete thought. It requires more language. It requires an independent clause to complete the thought. Okay, so if you need to, go back to the video, use the colors as a guide to help you understand different sentence structures. And as always, thank you for watching, and if you can, please like and please share the video to other students so they have an opportunity to learn these tips as well. Okay, so thank you, and we'll see you next time.